With 2 weeks until voters hit the polls, Republican candidate Peter Meijer is hearkening back to a time when a future president was the one who represented Grand Rapids in Congress.
And I hope to continue that tradition on November 3rd.
Very big shoes to fill. When this was the 5th District, from 1948 to 1973, he was represented by Jerry Ford. I had the honor of knowing President Ford and also serving as an escort at his funeral when I was in the military. So that is a weight and a type of leadership that I think we need to return more of.
And it's one of the reasons Meijer is now making a run at office. You, of course, know his last name, but that's not something the Iraq War veteran has ever wanted to campaign on.
Not really sure it's going to come as a surprise to many voters in West Michigan that someone with the last name Meijer comes from a wealthy family. But my life hasn't been about my last name. It's been about service. It's about serving my community, serving my country.
Like early on in his campaign when his team delivered thousands of meals to locals struggling amid the pandemic. Most of his past work, Meijer says, has had little to do with party affiliation.
Whether it's veteran advocacy, which had to do with policy, but it wasn't necessarily political, or the work that I was doing overseas.
But the Republican says what separates him most from his opponent, Democrat Hillary Scholten, is transparency.
She, and I'm very envious of this, didn't have a primary. She didn't have to take some of those tough stances. She didn't have to share with the public where she stood on any number of issues. So I think in terms of transparency, in terms of consistency, that's probably one of the biggest dividing factors.
And now he's asking voters in a traditionally red district to keep it that way, pledging to fix the system while working across the aisle, something President Gerald Ford was well known for.
That's exactly the type of leadership that West Michigan needs. That's not only looking towards the long term and making sure we're strongly represented, but also isn't afraid to work with anybody, reach across the aisle to get the job done.
For Fox 17 News, I'm Aaron Parsegian.